Once upon a time, in a bustling modern African city where skyscrapers rose like proud baobab trees and the streets buzzed with life, there lived a billionaire named Kwaku Mensah, a man whose name echoed in every business hall, whose empire stretched from luxurious hotels glittering under the sun to industries that fed thousands of workers. And yet, for all his wealth, his heart remained incomplete. For he had not yet found a wife who could see him not as a prize of riches, but as a man of flesh, spirit, and soul. And his mother, Mama Efua, a woman wise as the ancient griots, who kept stories alive around the fires of villages, watched with worry as age crept upon her son and suitors gathered like bees around honey, each woman dressing herself in fine cloth and sweet words, yet never convincing Mama Efua that her love for Kwaku was true, for she knew the human heart. And like a farmer tapping the earth to know where water hides, she wished to test these women. Thus, she formed a daring plan, a plan so unusual that even the ancestors might whisper in amazement. For she would disguise herself as a humble cleaner in her son's mansion, sweeping the marble floors, dusting the golden staircases, scrubbing the great halls where chandeliers sparkled, and in that guise she would see which woman, if any, would treat her with kindness, respect, and compassion when no wealth or power was attached to her name. Because Mama Efua believed deeply in the old proverb, a person who cannot honor the small will never honor the great. And so the story begins with Kwaku, a tall man in his mid-30s, with broad shoulders and a presence that filled every room. Though beneath his commanding aura lived a soul that longed for laughter, companionship, and the warmth of a woman who loved him for who he was, not what he owned. Many women came into his life, models, actresses, daughters of politicians, yet Mama Efua, though gentle in speech, had the sharp eyes of a hawk, as she would whisper to herself after each encounter, "No, this one's eyes shine only for the gold, not for the man," until one day she told her son, "My child, you are blind to the true hearts of people because you walk always in the garments of wealth. Allow me to do something strange and trust that the ancestors will guide us." And though Kwaku chuckled, brushing it off as his mother's eccentricity, he respected her wisdom, for he had seen her turn barren land into harvest, quarrels into peace, and tears into laughter many times before. Thus, he allowed her to move freely in his mansion without questioning her next steps. The next morning, while the sun painted the sky orange and the city roared awake with honking taxis and the calls of market women, Mama Efua wrapped herself in an old faded cloth, tied a scarf around her head, rubbed ash on her skin to appear older and worn, and walked into the mansion through the servants' entrance where only the staff knew her. She announced herself as a new cleaner hired to assist, and the staff, though surprised, accepted her quietly, not knowing she was the mother of their master. In her new role she swept floors, polished banisters, and carried buckets of water. And whenever guests came, especially the young women eager to win Kwaku's heart, she observed them closely, her eyes hidden behind humility, her ears sharp to every word, her heart weighing their actions like a scale. The first woman who came was Abena, a beauty queen whose photographs had graced magazines, tall and elegant with skin smooth as silk. And when she entered the mansion she looked around and exclaimed, "What a palace! This is the life I deserve." And as Mama Efua bent to wipe the floor near her shoes, Abena frowned, lifted her foot in disgust, and said, "Be careful not to touch me with your filthy rag, old woman. Your place is beneath us." And in that moment Mama Efua's heart sank, though she kept silent, bowing her head as if ashamed, while inside she whispered, "The ancestors have shown me her true face." Days passed and more women came, each dressed finer than the last, each showering Kwaku with compliments, bringing him gifts, laughing at his jokes. But whenever Mama Efua in disguise appeared to serve water or clear the table, many of them scowled, insulted her, or ignored her presence entirely, and Mama Efua, though hurt, was grateful, for she knew the truth was revealing itself. Then, one afternoon, when the sky rumbled with distant thunder and rain threatened to fall, a young woman named Elle arrived, not in silk, but in a simple cotton dress, carrying a basket of food she had cooked herself, jollof rice wrapped in plantain leaves, spicy chicken, and kelawell that smelled of ginger and pepper. She presented it shyly to Kwaku, saying, "I know you may dine on the finest meals, but I thought you might taste food made with care." And as she spoke, her eyes were not fixed on his watch or the chandeliers, but on his face with genuine warmth. While Kwaku smiled politely, unsure of what to think, Mama Efua, in her disguise, entered the hall to mop the floor, and Emma immediately moved her basket aside, saying softly, "Please, Mama, don't strain yourself. Let me lift that bucket for you." And before Mama Efua could protest, Emma lifted the bucket herself, her arms trembling slightly, but her heart strong, and she laughed. "I'm not as strong as you, but we women must help each other." And those words struck Mama Efua like the ringing of sacred drums, for they carried truth, humility, and kindness from that day. Mama Efua watched Emma closely. Whenever she visited, Emma would greet every staff member, from the guards at the gate to the gardeners trimming the hedges, with respect. She would sit with the cooks in the kitchen, tasting their stew, laughing at their jokes, and even helping them chop onions. When she saw Mama Efua, still disguised as a cleaner, carrying heavy laundry baskets, she would rush to assist, saying, "Our mothers deserve rest, not endless labor." And though Mama Efua tested her by spilling water accidentally near her dress, Emma simply laughed, helped clean, and said, "Water can wash cloth, but words can never wash disrespect," showing her wisdom as well. Kwaku began to notice the light in Emma's actions, though part of him still wondered if she loved him or the idea of him. And it was then that Mama Efua decided the time for truth had come. The climax of this tale unfolded during a grand banquet, when Kwaku invited many important guests, business partners, and of course several women who still pursued him, their gowns sparkling like stars. The hall was filled with music, laughter, and the aroma of roasted meat, and Mama Efua, in her humble clothes, moved silently between tables pouring drinks. At one moment she stumbled by accident, spilling wine on Abena's expensive gown, and Abena erupted with fury, slapping the glass from her hand and shouting, "You useless old hag! How dare you ruin my dress?" While the hall fell into awkward silence, but Emma, sitting nearby, stood up, took a napkin, and helped clean the mess, saying firmly to Abena, "No one deserves such cruelty. Even if her hand slipped, her heart deserves respect," and her words rang like thunder. Silence in the hall, while Kwaku's eyes widened as he saw Emma's bravery and compassion. It was then that Mama Efua removed her headscarf, wiped the ash from her face, and revealed herself before all, declaring, "I am no cleaner, but the mother of Kwaku Mensa, and I have worn these clothes to see who among you carries love not for riches, but for humanity." And gasps filled the hall as faces turned pale, some women trying to excuse themselves. But the truth was already carved into memory like a proverb in stone. Emma stood still, shocked yet unafraid, and bowed slightly, saying, "If I had known you were the great Mama Efua, I would have treated you the same. For respect is not given to titles, but to souls." And those words sealed her place in the hearts of both Kwaku and Mama Efua. Tears glistened in Mama Efua's eyes as she embraced Emma, blessing her in the name of the ancestors, while Kwaku, moved beyond measure, finally saw what he had long sought, a woman whose love was not for his empire, but for the human being within. The banquet turned from tension to joy, drums were brought, people danced, and the story spread across the city like wildfire, with many marveling at Mama Efua's wisdom. In time, Kwaku and Emma married in a grand ceremony that blended tradition and modernity, with chiefs and dignitaries present, but what mattered most was the laughter, the dancing, and the blessing of Mama Efua, who knew she had secured her sons' happiness not through wealth, but through a test of humility and love. And so the tale closes with a lesson sung in the hearts of all who heard it. Riches made by admiration, but only kindness wins true love. For as the proverb says, gold shines on the outside, but it is the heart that makes the world warm.